It is a story you'll only see on NBC 26. Since the 1980s, nearly 2,000 Americans have been wrongfully convicted and then later cleared of all charges and released. But how do you justly compensate someone for those years that are lost?
Good question. Daryl Dwayne Holloway of Milwaukee spent 24 years at the Green Bay Correctional Institution for a crime he didn't commit. Now free, he's looking for justice and asking, what is the price of life? NBC 26's Eric Krest has the story.
Dwayne Holloway has only been out of Green Bay's maximum security prison for 1 month now. He just spent half of his life locked up. And it was actually on day one of his release when he found out he might get a maximum of $25,000 from the state for all of that time lost. Nearly half of Dwayne Holloway's life was spent here.
Second they arrested me, I told them no, it wasn't me.
With some of the hardest criminals the state has ever incarcerated.
I don't think they wanted me out. So, I had to prove myself.
How you doing, baby? New methods of testing DNA evidence ultimately cleared him of the crime he didn't commit, so his freedom was ordered. But nothing could prepare him for the shock of how the state admits they got his conviction wrong.
What they telling me is they take almost a quarter of a century from me, and I'm gonna give you a little over $1,000 a year for each year that you've been in. Nah.
Currently, 20 states in the U.S. have no compensation statute at all in the books for the wrongfully convicted and incarcerated. For the other 30 states, payouts can vary across the board.
There was a bill in the last 2 years in the last session which talked about expanding it. That didn't get out of committee, so we're one of the lowest in the country. Even Texas would give $80,000 per year for wrongful incarceration.
Wisconsin's law on compensation for the wrongfully convicted and imprisoned is over 100 years old. Even our neighbors in Minnesota offer as much as $50,000 a year for such a grave mistake.
My hope would be that the legislature would revisit this.
Holloway was fortunate enough to land on his feet when he was released. He's been staying at his brother's home in Milwaukee and was able to find a part-time job which he says helps pay the bills.
It's not totally ends meet, no. It puts something in my pocket, may keep me, going, but, no, it's not far from ends meet.
But he was never given the resources to figure out housing arrangements, how to establish or pay for health care, or something as basic as setting up a bank account.
We've had to get him his health insurance card through Badger Care, tried to get him in local programs to get some food assistance, rent assistance, transportation. Those have yet to come through. And now we're also talking about education.
And while there are other legal actions that his attorney plans on pursuing, that could bring as much as a six-figure settlement to compensate Holloway, the road is likely long and uncertain.
Hard to predict.
So for the time being, after merely a month of being free, Holloway isn't focusing on being compensated, but rather all of those lost moments, like his mother's funeral that he couldn't attend, his kids' graduations, and the countless moments in life that are worth their weight in gold.
We got Thanksgiving coming up, and it's going to be the first one, so I'm going to enjoy it. I'm just going to smile and just sit back and just watch everybody and take it all in.
It was just last January when the Wisconsin State Assembly voted to raise the per-year compensation for those wrongfully imprisoned to up to $50,000 a year, but the bill ultimately died in the Senate. Recently, Governor Walker went on record with us stating increasing such compensation is worth looking at going forward. Keeping you connected, I'm Eric Krest with NBC 26.